Hi class, welcome to another session on rehabilitation engineering. So today we shall discuss principles of assistive technology assessment. So we have already discussed the misconceptions related to assistive technology, like the frame of mind that a patient approaches when they come to a rehabilitation clinic with the hope of getting an assistive technology. So what is their frame of mind and what key misconceptions we should clear before we start the therapy is what we have discussed in the last class. So now, when a person approaches us, right, as a clinician, what are the specific guidelines that we should follow in order to ensure that the patient gets the optimum optimum benefits out of the rehabilitation program? So the first one is the user's goals, needs, and tasks should be clearly defined as early as possible during the intervention process. So exactly what the user wants, what are the requirements for the user, what is it that he requires to lead a normal life, and what are the tasks that he performs or he or she performs on a day-to-day life is something that should be clearly defined. Now, there are initial assessment charts available for each and every rehabilitation procedure. So these are guidelines available in websites that are specifically dedicated to a certain disorder. So we should have checklists and predefined forms such as the initial assessment form, and then based on that we should validate our assessment and document it properly and ensure that we haven't missed any key we have not missed anything, right? Any of the key aspects of initial assessment has not been missed. So this would definitely ensure that we've covered all our bases. So the second would be involvement of rehabilitation professionals with a wide skill set, which will enhance the success of the outcome, which will probably enhance the success of the outcome, which is very self-explanatory, isn't it? So I have a table here, which is taken from your textbook. So you have technology areas and you have professionals, responsible professionals. Now you can see that one professional has got more than one role to play. For example, in written communication as well as in augmentative communication, you can see speech and language pathologist. Now, one person can play more than one role. However, one person cannot play all the roles. I mean, it's better to have a team where you have you have people who are like specialized in certain sections of the rehabilitation and combined together, you deliver a combined output which is going to benefit the patient. So that is like the second principle is to have a good team. Now, the third one is the user's preferences, cognitive and physical abilities and limitations, living situation, tolerance for technology, and probable changes in the future should be thoroughly assessed, analyzed, and quantified. Now, many people do not like change in technology. Like, they do not like technology. Like, many people, they are very, very comfortable with, landline telephones. They don't like using mobile phones. And even if they use mobile phones, they are attuned to the older versions of mobile phone. So the new smartphones is something that they find very, very complicated to, use. At the same time, if you have someone with Parkinson's, whose cognitive ability, whose ability to understand has decreased, so if you give them a really technologically advanced gadget to use, they'd really struggle. Again, if there's someone who has had a stroke and is having aphasia, you give them a voice controlled assistive technology to use, then they won't be able to use it, right? So, as a rehabilitation clinician, we should thoroughly assess what our patients' capability are, what their requirements are basically. If they do not require a sophisticated gadget, if they can just very well return back to their normal life by using just a cane, then that is what should be prescribed. Just because we have something really technologically advanced, like we have a very, very sophisticated device, does not mean that we should use it, right? We should use a device that is actually useful to the patient. That's what the third principle says. We've already discussed this. So the fourth principle says that careful and thorough consideration of available technology for meeting the user's needs must be carried out to avoid overlooking potentially useful solutions. So this one is the opposite of the other one. Now we have a patient who can use technologically advanced devices. So we have to make sure that we cover all our aspects. Just because we are good at, setting up a particular device does not mean that that is the only solution we should offer to the patient or to the volunteer. So, if, for example, there is an FES device, so there are a number of FES devices that are available in the market. Just because I developed a particular FES device, or I have been using a particular brand FES device, does not mean that should be the only solution for the user. Well, however, the user could actually benefit with some other FES device, and I know that. If I know, I should tell them that. I should educate them, saying that, hey, there's another device that's available, which can do this, 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 and this. Would you be interested in? And if they say if they are interested, and then we should refer them to someone who's expert in using that device and set them up, right? Because ultimately the user should get benefits out of it. If we think that the device that we are using is going to deliver the same amount of benefit to the patient, then it's okay. However, we shouldn't be overlooking solutions, is what we say. Just because I know something does not mean that is the ultimate solution. That's what they mean to say. So the user's preferences and choice must be taken into consideration while suggesting an assistive device. Like I said, if the person is not technologically advanced or doesn't like technology, we shouldn't, enforce a sophisticated device on them. If they like something that is simple, just a button operated one, we should suggest that to them. That's what they mean to say. Then the assistive technology device must be categorized and installed in a location and setting where it will primarily be used. Very, very important one. So wheelchair. Suppose I'm setting a wheelchair up on a patient, right? Then I should set it up in exactly the place where the user is going to use it for the maximum amount of time, because a wheelchair, the wheelchair that I'm setting up might work perfectly well in the hospital environment, might work perfectly well in the premises that I'm training the user to use it on. However, when they go home, they might struggle with the wheelchair, right? So, as a rehabilitation clinician, we should try and simulate the environment that the device is going to be used at. And then, however, it's not possible to like give them a perfect device that is going to work under all circumstances. They will have issues while using the device, and we should be available to clear those issues out for them. Then seventh is not only must the user be trained to use the assistive device, but also the attendants or family members must be aware of the device's intended purpose, benefits, and limitation, which is very, very important because the user might overlook certain issues, and it's always a good idea to have more than one person listening to what exactly the instructions are, because I as a user might be very, very excited to use the device that I might miss some key instructions. However, my attendee or the person who's accompanying me might have paid attention to them. So it is always good to have more than one person who knows how to use the device, because it's not always possible that the user is the only person who'd know and wouldn't run into trouble at all. Finally, follow-up and readjustments and reassessment of the user's usage pattern and needs are necessary at periodic intervals. The users what do you say? The user's preferences might change over a period of time. Again, the device might wear off over a period of time, or the device might not be useful. I mean, the device might not be performing as intended over a period of time. So, regularly, you should keep tabs on exactly what is happening and how the device is being used, and whether the device is delivering the intended therapy. All that needs to be assessed regularly. I mean, I'm not saying that it should be on a weekly basis, but at least, initially it should be on a weekly basis, and then on a monthly basis, and then once in 6 months or once in a year. However, it should be done periodically, right? So this is all the principles that are associated with the use of assistive technology. I hope you enjoyed this session, and I shall see you again with another session sometime soon. Till then, take care.